Today I'm speaking to Rosie O'Connor. Would you prefer me to call you Rosanna?
Rosie's great.
It is telling me, giving me conflicting information. Rosie O'Connor, who is the art curator on Frameless, which, well, if you look at it online, it's called the Ultimate Immersive Art Experience. It is an immersive art experience, but I'm going to pass over to Rosie just to explain in a little bit more detail what that is, if that's okay, Rosie.
Yes, so just to sort of intro Frameless, we are the first permanent and the largest immersive art experience in the UK. We launched in 2022 and we have four immersive galleries. Each of the four galleries has a different theme, and we've created those themes to include different sort of art styles or movements, or sort of a theme that brings these artworks together across centuries. And in each of the four rooms, we've matched the art with different technology to really tell the story of that art and bring them to life in a way that's going to help audiences to connect more with them. So each of the four galleries we've approached really differently in terms of technology. And really the way that we work is the art is always at the heart of everything we create. So although we're using technology to obviously enhance and animate these artworks, everything about that process is informed by the art itself. So we start with the story of the artwork, the intention of the artist, and then we use technology just to bring that out to audiences rather than throwing technology onto art that doesn't sort of bring any kind of emotional connection out or sort of resonance for the audience. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how we
Well,
work.
well, I went to see Frameless a few weeks ago. I loved it. And I was struck by the way that you use music,
Mhm.
uh, partly music to bring out the story of the artworks, but also the way you animate characters in the artworks. I'm trying to think whether it was the Rembrandt, the ship and the sea, actually bringing the scene to life, animating the sea, so you really feel like you're caught in a storm. And I think it's paired with Mussorgsky's Night on a Bare Mountain. So it's really, there's so much drama that gets injected into this scene. I was wondering, well, first of all, if you could tell me a bit about the founding of Frameless. Were you involved in the founding?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I was brought on when it was still being built, and they knew they were going to have four galleries, but they didn't know what art to put in them, and also what technology to use, and how to get audiences, and that's any audience, because our market is everyone. We want everyone from toddlers up into grandparents and everything in between, people who go to art museums, people who've never been to an art museum, to feel that it's accessible and exciting and a magical experience for them. So my job was to choose the art, and also to theme the galleries in a way that was accessible for anyone to walk into and have an emotional experience, and then work with the animators, really bringing the kind of art historical integrity to the forefront of that process, and then working with the composers. We worked with two different composers to compose specifically for the animated pieces, so that as well was telling the story, but also sort of telling the audience how to feel, what was the feeling behind the artwork that we want to get over to the audience. So music is 100% integral to an immersive experience. We would say it creates 50% of your overall experience. So 50% is the music and 50% is visual. So it's so important to get that right, to kind of get the right feeling for the audience, which hopefully it sounds like you felt that when
I
you.
definitely, I very much felt that. And I wonder, well, you say the aim is to bring the paintings to life. Is there an educational purpose as well? Is there uh is some of its intention to educate children, for example, or newcomers to the artworks about about their, well, emotional content and um to be able to get sort of an introduction to art history and to artworks.
Yeah, so that was the most part of it. We do have an incredible learning access department who've created schools sessions. We also do chilled sessions for children who have sensory impairments. and also for adults as well. But in terms of the kind of educational aspects, when we were designing the space and what that would look like, you'll notice we didn't have any audio guides. We do have informations on the boards outside, but it was a conscious choice not to have anything in the galleries. We just want people to experience something and see how they feel, what their reaction is to the art, and then they can go and learn more. We have that information outside, but really from an accessibility point of view, we didn't want the sort of the art history or the academia to get in the way of people having just a really incredible experience. So hopefully then it creates something that if you've never been to an art gallery before, you have no experience in art history, right through to people who are art historians themselves or go to museums and have been for their whole lives, they each experience something different, but they both get an experience that is accessible.
So I guess what's being promoted here is our emotional reaction to the paintings. I mean, what was interesting, and I certainly felt that what was interesting was somebody who was at the gallery with me was pointing out that there could be a chance of some of the intellectual content of the paintings being filtered out in the process. I wonder what you make of that, whether this was something that you thought about or whether you even agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, an immersive art experience is very different to going to a museum. We're not trying to sort of emulate that. We very much see ourselves as a conduit to a complement to traditional museums. We're not trying to replace them by any stretch of the imagination. Quite the opposite. It's more for an access point for people to start their journey into that.
Mhm.
And then hopefully filter, so we say some of the paintings, they're here in London, please go and see them in real life, because obviously nothing replaces actually seeing the painting. But I think what it creates is a different way to experience the painting. Obviously, if you're looking at an artwork that is two-dimensional, and in a museum, it's often, big white walls, especially for children, it can be a quite intimidating space because that's not even at the right height for them. They can't actually engage properly if they're small. So it's a different way to experience the art. It's a fun way and a sort of magical way to introduce people to art history.
It's an access point, as you say. And I went with my two small children. And what was incredible, it was like a giant playpen because of course I can't take them to a real gallery most of the time because I'm too scared of them, licking the paintings.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, or they would just tear around the place. I'd lose them. You don't actually get to see anything because they're off in that room. You haven't,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it's fine. So whereas at Frameless, there's only one door in each room. There's one door in, one door out. If you sit right next to the door, you know if they're going through it, so you don't worry about them running away. And because everything's so stimulating, this so I mean, all the senses are being stimulated. There's so much to keep them occupied there. So they were entranced, really. They were transfixed, running around that space. I
Yeah.
thought this is literally better than soft play for them.
Yeah, but
You
I think it's really magical for them to certainly if I grew up going to art museums, but it was quite a negative experience for me because I was sort of being dragged around or felt like I was being dragged around by my mum, because I couldn't really, they're not sort of catered necessarily for children. They're a great place to go as a family. But I think if you have young children, as you say, it can be quite a difficult experience to get them to engage. Whereas at Frameless, it's so delightful to see them having such joy, and having fun with art. So it's a great starting point for them. If that's their first experience of art and it's a really, really positive one, hopefully that stays with them and they'll carry on and get more and more into art and creating things in the future.
Yes, and I think as somebody who has gone to galleries before, I think there's plenty to be gained from it as well. That you can because you are there and getting in touch with the emotional reaction to a painting. I suppose perhaps you have, I mean, if I'm playing devil's advocate here, you have less choice over where your imagination takes you because it's being paired with music. So somebody's done that work for you of saying, this is the feeling. This is the feeling that you get from this painting. Yeah, I'm sort of putting that to you, wondering where you go with that or whether you think that even matters.
I mean, obviously, we have to. we have to make a choice creatively of how we're going to treat a certain painting and what sort of emotions we're going to pull out of it. But actually, what we found is that people have very different reactions to different.
Anyway.
Yeah. Some people cry over some that they find really, really deeply emotional. But others being the same painting just feel really joyful or calm, or I sort of think it depends, as everyone does looking at a two-dimensional painting in a sort of traditional gallery space, people read into the painting in different ways. They reflect their own lives and their own, the way their brain works onto it, and then gather that sort of back. It sort of reflects it back at them. We have
Mm.
the same thing at Frameless, actually. So yes, there's obviously a sort of a separation between the artist and the viewer because it's not direct. We have us in the middle who have created something, but that's not to say that that experience doesn't also hold a lot of value. So it's just different. It's just different to your experience at a museum.
Yeah. And I'm wondering where do you hope to take it from here? Is there going to be a Frameless too? Because of course there are, I mean there are only certain paintings there like there. So I'm wondering whether there's scope for building another one with different ones, or are you hoping to rotate the paintings in some way?
Yeah, so we've already done, was it last year we added a few more to the world around us, which is our biggest gallery with the 360-degree immersion. So we sort of did a bit of a refresh with that gallery, added some new pieces, we took some older ones away. We've done similar in Beyond Reality as well, where we've actually reimagined some of the paintings again. We sort of done a step two, and we've added in three more paintings into that room. So we'll continue to upgrade those and sort of change and add some new works. And then, the future is exciting because we have the capacity to completely redo all the galleries and to come up with brand new themes.
Mm.
With art, it's endless. We can tell endless stories, so it's really exciting.
That's brilliant. Well, gosh, well, Rosie, I can't wait to see how it turns out and develops. So thank you so very much for speaking to me and sharing this with me today.
That's absolutely fine. Wonderful to meet you.
Hi everyone, thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more of the same, then feel free to hit subscribe on our channel, or for more similar coverage, visit our website at www.thecuspmagazine.com. Thanks, and I'll see you another time.